friend, Aaron and
Charlie.
we are here to make
Salmon. Honey.
Do you remember
salmon.
what kind? Honey mustard salmon.
Honey mustard.
And we're late. I apologize. We're only a couple minutes late. And this is why. I got a little sidetracked a minute ago while I was getting everything set up. And you guys tell what this is? What is this, Charlie?
It's a dolphin.
Could you please make your dolphin noise for everyone?
No. I refuse.
So we have reached the level of quarantine and social distancing and isolation and staying home and whatever, where we make dolphins out of bananas. Isn't he super cute? He actually will stand up if you put him on yeah, so you just cut off the end of the stem, slice through here, and then you cut the stem and place the eyes in, and then please make your noise. It was really good.
No.
All right, don't mind us. We're really here not to show you how to make a dolphin out of a banana, although we just did. You could probably YouTube that. There's probably some YouTube star that figured that out and put it on there. Anywho, we're making honey mustard salmon today. This is the third cooking lesson this week. We have 2 more cooking lessons coming up in our school cancellation kids cooking show, and then we'll be complete with our regular dinner, breakfast, lunch sort of recipes. And we have the freezer meal prep, the quarantine, like teenager and kid meal prep challenge is why we're typing kid into the comments. So just quickly type in KID, all caps, lowercase, doesn't matter. And I'll message you where to RSVP for that. It is going to be happening live in the kitchen, me and my boys, you and your kids cooking together live on Saturday, May 2nd. That's another week, it's a week and a half from now. If you can't join us live, that's okay. There will be a replay. We have some exciting other things coming up, but that is first in the kids cooking lessons. We're going to take it beyond just one meal, and we're going to talk about how we can load this guy up here and why that's super useful, especially right now. I've been doing freezer meals for over a decade, 15 years maybe, and they're such a life changer and lifesaver, especially right now when we just are cooking all the time. We need meals that will cook themselves, and so we're going to dig into that on Saturday the 2nd. So that is going to be coming up. Again, you can type the word kid into the comments at any point during the video today, and I'll message you how to RSVP for that. And I have a copy of the freezer meal plan that we're using when you RSVP. So just RSVP, and I'll email you everything you need to know, the plan. I'll send you reminders of when we're going live and all of that stuff. So that is coming up. Pamela, we do have a, if you look under photos here on the page, we do have the recipe list and the shopping list posted for every week. So this is the third lesson in this week, and then tomorrow we're making chicken Alfredo bake, and then Friday we are making barbecue meatball sliders. Those are going to be super yummy. So that's what we're doing the rest of this week. You can see if you tap over onto the photos, I believe if you just go under photos, you'll see the shopping list and the recipe list for this week's lessons, as well as the previous 3 weeks. If you look far enough back, you'll see those there. All right, disclaimers before we jump in. Moms and dads, I need you to remember that your kiddos are learning how to cook, and it might be messy. We had a brown sugar all over the place here on Monday, and that is okay. That's part of learning. I know we want to not create more frustration for ourselves, but this is a time to let the kiddos explore and learn in the kitchen. I'm gonna teach him as we go. I'm teaching him to do this, and we're teaching you to do this at the same time. That's how these lessons work. So we're just going to prepare this as if I were in your kitchen teaching your kid how to do it as well. And if we are dealing with raw meat today, raw salmon, or perhaps you're making this with chicken or pork chops, either of those 3 cuts of meat will work, and we'll get into the cooking times in that later. So know that if there's a safety issue, you need to be there, obviously nearby supervising, especially if you're working with younger kiddos. If you have somebody older like Charlie, he's almost 13, he's pretty good at a lot of things in the kitchen. And so I kind of just keep an eye and I kind of listen as he's making something that he has made before. And kids, if I get in your way,
I politely tell you to let me do it.
Yeah, you just say, hey, Mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever's with you, I got this. I'm learning. I'm going to make a mess, and that's okay. I want to give you permission to do that politely and respectfully to make sure that you are in there doing the things, learning the things. So those are my disclaimers. So you ready to jump in?
Yeah.
All right. We were a little distracted by our dolphin, our banana dolphin. So we didn't get out a mixing bowl. So will you grab a mixing bowl? And we didn't get out our pan. I like to try and have everything out so we don't have to shuffle around the kitchen so much while we're doing these lessons. So with this, I'm going to flip camera modes here. So with this not barbecue, that's Friday. With this honey mustard salmon, we are going to learn how to bake it. We're going to learn how to mix up a homemade honey mustard sauce, and I'm going to give you some variation ideas. We're also going to talk about how to make this ahead for the freezer. So if you buy salmon or you see salmon's on sale, maybe you have extra salmon, you can prepare this salmon and marinade and put it into the freezer. And we're also, I'm also going to tell you that it's a whole lot easier to remove the skin of the salmon after you've baked it. So don't try to fillet it off unless you're really good at using a fillet knife. That is a skill that if you do any fishing and you've done, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on that word. What is it called when you, that Vince does? Fillet the fish? No, where you, oh, I just totally am drawing a blank. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Bake first, then it's a lot easier to remove with a spatula. You can get the skin off there pretty easily. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is preheat our oven. You have two baking levels for salmon. One is 350, the other is 400. I'm just sharing both of them with you because they do cook the salmon a little bit differently. So if you're doing 350 degrees, you're going to need to cook your salmon for 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how thick it is. You want to get it all the way cooked through. If you're cooking it at 400 degrees, it's gonna kind of give a little extra dryness and crispiness to the top of the salmon. So if you're cooking it at 400 degrees, you're going to cook it 15 to 20 minutes. So you need to cook it 5 to 10 minutes longer if you're cooking it at 350, or you can also cook at 400. So why don't you, Charlie, preheat your oven. We'll do 350 today. Since it's a little too early for dinner now, we'll cook it a few minutes longer. So bake, 350, start. You got that?
Yep.
Okay. The next thing that we need to do is measure out our ingredients. And so we have a couple of options here. Is our baking dish in the dishwasher over here? No. Okay, so we have a couple of different options for this honey mustard salmon. So really what we're looking for is a sweet ingredient. So here's a maple syrup, and here is a honey. We want a sweet, and we want to combine that with something that is tangy, if you will, and a little bit pungent is a good vocabulary word for today. So I have 3 mustard choices here. This is a coarse grain mustard that's going to have little larger pieces of the mustard seed. This is the spicy brown mustard that'll have a little bit of kick. And then this is a yellow mustard. I think this would also be really good if you have a mustard that's got horseradish in it. That'll give it a nice kick. So those are some options. So the idea here when making a honey mustard marinade for salmon, you really only need one of each. So pick a sweet and pick a pungent, and we're gonna mix them together. We'll use a whisk. So get out your whisk, and we're gonna whisk together equal parts, okay? So for a pound of salmon, I usually do a 1/4 cup of mustard, any of the 3 mustards or whatever kind you have, and a 1/4 cup of the sweet, the honey or the maple. So as long as you're doing equal parts, a 1/4 cup, a 1/4 cup, 3 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons. If you're just doing a single serving for yourself, 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon. But for 1 pound of salmon, I usually mix up a 1/4 cup of honey and a 1/4 cup of mustard. Okay, so as long as it's equal parts, that will work. If you are wanting to make this with chicken or with pork chops, I recommend adding a half a teaspoon of vinegar as well to this marinade. That just helps soften up the meat a little bit. Salmon is already a very soft meat, and adding a little bit of vinegar helps with cooking the chicken and cooking the pork chops. But for today, we're gonna skip the vinegar because we are making salmon. So we're gonna use a baking, we're gonna mix that up. So we need to measure a quarter cup of each of those. And so it's actually probably easier to remove the entire top. I'm gonna remove that top. You might need to give that mustard a shake. Is there even a quarter cup of mustard in here is a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Okay. You might need to give the mustard a shake, especially if it's set down at the bottom. So just give it a little shake so that when you go to squeeze it out, you can do that. All right, so why don't you measure out a quarter cup. I think all of our things were washed. We got so sidetracked by the dolphin. The dolphin banana, you guys. I feel like he needs to join you for your cooking today. Can we have him here with you? Look at, and he even has a little fin. Ha! All right, so add that there.
This is a third cup.
You're welcome, Mark. Uncle Mark is here. Oh. He's picking up some salmon. Don't forget, pick up that salmon. Okay, and we are not adding vinegar and, oh, I know what I'm getting. All right, we also need to get our pan ready. We'll do that in a minute too. Here, let's get a spoon. If you have a small plastic spatula or a spoon to get that wet ingredients, often, especially mustard, gets real sticky. So you want to make sure to get as much out of there as you can. And because we're combining these two ingredients together into the sauce, it's okay if there's a little bit left in here, and then you measure your honey or your maple syrup in with that. Okay, if you have like we don't have a small enough plastic, if you have a plastic scraper like this that has a little bit of bend to it, this might actually go in there. Yeah, that fit actually, barely. If you have a small plastic scraper, that's a good way to get that out of there too. All right, you want to do the honey?
Yeah.
Whoa. It comes out quick, huh? If you get a little bit of over, that's okay. I don't think that that dish is going to be big enough for the salmon that I have. I told everybody about it. Okay, I'm gonna get a different dish out, guys, and then we're gonna get this. All right, if you want to give this a little tiny bit more flavor, I don't think it needs any more flavor, but we talked about adding a little splash of vinegar if you're making chicken or pork chops. You could also add in a little garlic powder. You could add in a little bit of minced onion or onion powder would work as well. I think we're going to put that directly on the salmon. So if you wanted to mix those in, maybe 1 teaspoon each for what we have here. So Charlie, go ahead and whisk this. All right, friends, we are extending our cooking lessons into a kids freezer meal prep challenge. So type the word KID into the comment and I will send you all the information of how to RSVP for that, the date that it's happening, the time that it's happening. I also have the freezer meal, a copy of the freezer meal plan that we are going through that has recipes, shopping lists, and instructions. We're gonna do this freezer meal prep live all together on May 2nd. So type KID, K-I-D, into the comments and I will send you all of that information. Okay, Charlie, that looks amazing. So that sauce, or if you're gonna prep this ahead, you could also use that as a marinade. Okay, so that is ready to go. So let's get our salmon into the dish. So why don't we need to spray the dish first? So will you coat this I don't like the skin to stick to the dish, so that's why we're going to spray it. I already got it out. It's right here.
Oh.
I know. I was just looking for that too. Okay. If you're wondering about this random banana, my kids just showed me how you make a dolphin out of a banana. I know. I already said this a few times. I'm just fascinated. There's little eyes from the stem, and he like talks. Somebody make a dolphin noise. This is the level of silliness that we've reached in our social isolation and quarantine time. I mean, he's so cute. He even has a fin. Okay, enough about that banana dolphin. Okay, kid in the comments, you guys. You have a lot of fun around here. Okay, we have actually two types of salmon, and I'm going to see. We might end up doing a second dish. We had two in the freezer. Parents, if you've got younger kiddos, this is raw meat, so you want to be paying close attention to make sure that they are being safe and to make sure that they are washing up after properly. Okay, I think this is going to have to be one. We're going to need a second dish. Okay, wash your hands with soap and water after dealing with any raw meat. Okay, keep it over the sink. Let me get you a different dish. We actually have 2 packs of salmon that we've had in the freezer. So I'm going to bake them in 2 separate pans. Okay, put that into here. You want to put the salmon into the dish skin side down. Okay, so now we have 2 dishes. Okay, we're both going to wash up because we were both working on the salmon. All right, if you've got salmon pieces that have already been cut, we're going to want to separate those slightly. Okay, so let's use some tongs. You can see that's how they were in the package, but we want to give them a little bit of room to cook. This one large piece that we did not have cut at the store, you can just leave it as one full piece, and then you can easily, with a spatula, cut this into pieces so that so that you can serve individually. So there's options here. We have these sort of single size fillets here, and then we have this full piece that we can cut later. Again, I'm leaving the skin on now. It's a lot easier to take the cooked salmon off of the skin after it has been baked or grilled or broiled or however you're cooking it. So we are going to leave it like that, and then after it's done baking, we'll be able to kind of make some cuts, and then you kind of use a flat spatula to scoop the flesh, the baked flesh, off of the salmon skin. Okay, so we've already mixed up a marinade. We really mixed up a marinade for one dish, so we should do a maple Dijon, or a maple. We might do another one. All right, so what we're gonna do is this has a pourable spout bowl, which is very handy. If you don't have that, you're gonna wanna grab another bowl or use a spatula or something so that you can, what you wanna do, let me show if I can show you this way. If let's say you don't have a pourable spout, you wanna use something that's going to help you spread this evenly, because what we're trying to do is get this marinade to completely coat the top of the salmon flesh. And if you miss any spots, you can just go back and fill it in. If any falls to the side, that's okay. But we want as much to stay on the top as possible and put that nice thick coat on there. And if you need to use the little brush like we did we use the brush yesterday? I think Ryan did, didn't he? If you need to, looks like Charlie's done a good job of coating this. If you need to use a brush of some kind to kind of cover up any spots, you can. But there is plenty there for that. Okay. Do you want to quickly mix up in a different bowl the, let's do some maple Dijon. So if you were going to prep this for the freezer, what you would do is add a What you looking for? The maple's right here.
Oh.
There's not a ton of maple syrup left. Actually, let me have you use this one. Hang on, guys. Sorry. We're talking about freezer-friendly salmon now. Here, use this. This is about a 1/4 cup. Okay, if you're going to make this for the freezer, what you're going to do is you're going to add your salmon pieces, whether it's a full piece or divided up fillets. You're going to add that to a plastic baggie or a disposable foil pan or whatever you're going to bake this salmon in. You can then mix up the marinade like we did in the bowl and pour the marinade sauce in with the salmon. Remove as much air as you can from the baggie and seal it shut, and then the salmon and the marinade will hang out together in the freezer. And when you're ready to cook it, you're going to want to let it thaw completely and then bake it as directed. You don't want to bake salmon that is partially frozen because salmon is a very sensitive meat, if you will. The flesh is very sensitive, so you don't want to overcook the thinner parts because the thicker part is partially frozen. So you want to make sure that that's completely thawed out before you bake it if you are going to freeze it. Did you get enough out? Do you need another spatula? Here, you can use another. All right, so Charlie's, because we have 2 pans here, it's going to be a delicious dinner. We're going to just mix up another quick batch of maple Dijon. Maybe we'll even do like a taste test, the difference between honey and maple, see which one you like better. Should we do that?
Yes.
I guess. Okay, now to bake this, we have got our salmon in our dish. We have the skin side down. We have the marinade nicely coated on top of the salmon. Charlie's mixing up this maple version here, and we're going to put that onto this pan here. We have already preheated our oven to 350 degrees, which means we need to bake this for 20 to 25 minutes. If you want to use a higher temperature, 400 degrees, let's say, then you'll probably only need to bake it for 15 to 20 minutes. Again, you need to make sure that your salmon is all the way cooked through, and you'll know that when the tallest, thickest parts have turned a different shade of pink and are slightly flaky. They're very soft. You'll be able to see the difference if you'll be able to see the difference if it's not cooked. You'll know that it's not cooked by looking at it. You want to make sure you're checking the tallest. In this case, it's going to be over here. In the case of these fillets, it's kind of right down the middle here. Make sure that it's cooked all the way through it. Jonna, hey, that's a great question for the Freeze Easy Facebook group. Go to For the Love of Freezer Cooking, and we've got all kinds of ideas there. Let's see here. All right, we are getting ready to wrap this and put this into the oven. Let me do a quick recap for you. Yep, pour it right on. Coat as much of it onto each of those fillets as you can. If you need to use the brush, you can. All right, so how to bake salmon. We preheated to 350 or 400. We mixed up our homemade honey mustard, and then the second sauce here is a homemade maple Dijon, equal parts. So 1 part maple, 1 part Dijon mustard, 1 part honey, 1 part mustard. So it depends on how much you're cooking to how much sauce that you're going to make. Okay? Yeah. Ooh, like scoop that back on top there. Ooh, yeah. Yum, yum. Okay. Then we are going to bake that. We are baking ours here at 350 for between 20 and 25 minutes until it's all the way cooked through with the fattest, tallest part. Okay. After it's done cooking, it will be a lot easier to remove the cooked salmon from the skin. If you want the skin removed, some stores will sell it that way. You can ask at the meat counter for them to remove the skin for you. You can ask at the meat counter for them to slice it up into individual portion sizes for you. Or you can get a full piece like this, and after it's cooked, it's a lot easier to cut it after it's been cooked. All right, you ready to put these in the oven?
Yeah.
All right, you can do that. So Charlie's going to put these in the oven. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about our kids meal prep challenge. We're going to be doing We've done 18 so far, kids cooking lessons. We have 2 more happening this week. And then the following weekend, on Saturday, May 2nd, we are going to host a live freezer meal prep session that we want the kids doing the work. I want to teach your kids how to do a freezer meal prep session. So we have a kid freezer prep challenge happening May 2nd. I've got all the information, where to RSVP, how to score your free freezer meal plan that goes with this. I've got the recipes, the shopping list, everything you need to get you ready for May 2nd. I have for you, if you type the word KID into the comments, K-I-D, kid, almost a teenager.
Few days.
Whew, you guys, help, send help. Now, type KID in the comments, and I will message you the details, where to RSVP, how to get a free copy of that freezer meal plan that we're going to be doing, and we want you to do it with us on May 2nd. I know you don't have any soccer games on May 2nd. I know you don't have any baseball tournaments on May 2nd. Let's make the most of this. I want to teach and equip you and your family to do this freezer meal prep, so we're going to be doing that then, May 2nd. Before that, we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday. We are making chicken Alfredo bake here on Kids Cooking Lessons. Friday, we're doing barbecue meatball sliders. And then we'll be with you again on May 2nd for that Kids Freezer Meal Prep Challenge. Again, type KID in the comments, and I will hook you up with all of that information. 25 minutes. We are baking this salmon. Don't forget to set the timer. We should set the timer because we're going to go like, I don't know what after this. And yeah, kitchen timer or cooking time is fine. All right, set your timer. 20 minutes if you're doing 400, 25 minutes if you're doing 350. And we will be enjoying this salmon here shortly. I hope you love it as well. We are going to be making, should we make rolls with this? Or rice? Rolls or rice? Rice. Okay, Instant Pot rice coming right up. I'm going to do that here in a second. You guys have a great afternoon, and we will see you on the next Kids Cooking Lessons tomorrow. Join us live here at 4 Central Standard Time. We will be here with you. Hopefully you can cook with us too. We love seeing your pictures. So send those in as well. You can just message the page here. That brings us a whole lot of joy. It makes my heart super happy to see your kiddos having success in the kitchen. All right, friends, until tomorrow. See you then.